Hello and welcome to the online session. This resource looks at the difference between descriptive and critical writing. First of all, we will consider the difference between the two terms, descriptive writing versus critical writing. Beginning with descriptive writing, this can be characterised as being factual. It lists details, it merely provides information, and it's a basic level of knowledge, answering the questions of who, what, where, and when. By contrast, critical writing goes a step further. It evaluates or appraises the evidence, it highlights strengths and weaknesses, it considers alternative points of view, it makes connections or links between material. All writing will have some level of description, for background, context, to set the scene or introduce an idea, but this should not be excessive and should lead into analysis. We're going to do an activity using a short piece of text, responding to identify the difference between the two writing styles. Your task is to read the article and write down some notes to describe it. Remember that descriptive writing will extract facts, it may summarise or it may pick out details. You might want to pause this presentation whilst you make notes. You can press play when you are ready to continue. So how did you find this? Remember, we're initially focusing on descriptive points only. Here are some examples. So firstly, it is a newspaper article from a local paper. Secondly, the article reports on the success and recognition of Manchester's regeneration. Thirdly, the article highlights record levels of house building. The recognition of regeneration comes from the European Urban Policy Forum. The article also includes some statistics. More people now live in the city centre, an increase of 149% between 2002 and 2015. This information comes from the Centre for Cities. How does this compare to your notes? You may find you have already started to move beyond description, but we're going to focus on this next. Generally, purely descriptive writing will repeat information, select key points, or replicate what is in the source. So here is our article again. You should be familiar with the basic content now. If you've already made some descriptive notes, you will, in effect, have summarised this or picked out some key details already. Now your task is slightly different. Read the article again, but try some critical writing. Remember that critical writing questions, evaluates, or considers alternative points of view. Again, pause whilst you think about this, and press play when you are ready to continue. So how did you find this? Hopefully you should find that you have a set of notes that are quite different to your first attempt. Here are some suggestions. Don't worry if yours take a different focus. Remember that being critical can mean differences in interpretation and analysis. Presenting an argument is part of the academic writing process and something that your tutors will be expecting to see. So looking at this article, one point to make is that it provides evidence of population growth and that this is backed up by statistics. However, the article fails to explore or represent criticisms of regeneration or provide space for a counter-argument or alternative points of view. There is a quote used in the article, but when we examine the quote, this is largely anecdotal and is not backed up by concrete evidence. Throughout the article, some generalisations are made, and it's arguably vague in places as well. It's notable, for example, that it conflates Manchester with city centre, and others may disagree with this interpretation. Overall, the article does not consider what constitutes a success in terms of regeneration, as this may actually extend beyond house building and new business, so arguably no alternative points of view are explored. This then brings us to what this means for academic writing. So far, we've been looking at an example of a newspaper article. However, in academic writing, you'll be using a range of specialist sources, such as journal articles and books. You still need to write critically about these texts. You can and you should question or challenge assertions made by authors or researchers, as long as your reasoning is clear, it's informed, and it remains formal. Your vocabulary requires some attention too. Your tone in your writing should be formal and cautious. And another point to make is that critical writing, it very much stems from critical reading. It does not happen in isolation. Reading critically will help you to write critically. So by reading critically, you may notice connections between texts, or by using your wider reading to help you evaluate a source. So if we're summarising the key points, the first one to note is that writing critically requires you to move beyond summarising or passively reproducing information from sources. To write critically, you need to engage with the source. You can do this by questioning, analysing and evaluating. Here are some references to sources used in the screencast. Thank you for watching this screencast. If you have a query, then our Learner Development team can help. Here are the contact details for Learner Development, including specialist study skills and the writing project. To find out about study skill sessions or to book, you can visit the link at the bottom of the screen.